Really the primary use case for Bitcoin, since it was kind of came to the world in 2008 over the last 15 years has been what we kind of call the HODL use case or the speculative use case, just, buy it, hold, hope the price goes up kind of thing. There's been various attempts at adding a different utility around it. For example, like lending in the days of, 2020 to 2022, there was a big push for that. Now, a lot of these companies that were doing it are no longer around. And they kind of had more of like your traditional banking model, incorporating credit and rehypothecation into it. Market appetite was strong for that. But in terms of the infrastructure and kind of risk management side, I think there was some, opportunities for improvement. And now you're sort of seeing, these two worlds come together with those product use cases of unlocking, additional utility beyond the speculative use case. But, doing it in a way that's much more aligned with Bitcoin kind of fundamental values, which is open source, democratizing access for wealth generation and real kind of utility for your money around the world and not being subject to maybe, governments or third parties manipulating that. So for us, bringing kind of Mezo into the fold made a lot of sense because there was sort of this window of like in the past cycles, the use cases beyond, the speculative use cases like Bitcoin utility, yield, et cetera, had been proven, but the models themselves were not sustainable long term. And we recognize that there's a pretty tremendous opportunity right now, especially with regulatory clarity happening in the US, with the pro-crypto administration now in office. There was some opportunity to kind of lean in, really create a full stack on-chain experience that encompasses the best of both worlds, caters to kind of that maxi mentality, or we like to call it the Bitcoin Stoic internally, but just, the people who are in on Bitcoin and call everything else a shitcoin. That's sort of like one side of the spectrum. And then on the other side, you have, people just looking to grow their wealth and maybe not as deeply invested in like some of the principles behind Bitcoin and decentralization. We found kind of that, threading the needle on both sides, where we can have a product that caters to the stoics or the maxi type user, people who are pro freedom and decentralization, but also catering to their needs as a user, wanting to grow that wealth. And on the same side, on the other side, people who maybe don't have as much of a focus on decentralization or open source, but still want to grow their wealth and use digital assets as a vehicle to do that. And so that's kind of the core North Star of Mezo and all the rest of the Thesis projects as well. And then, kind of taking that one step further, building in, kind of core apps and user interface ways for folks to engage with these products and doing it in a way that's much more simplified and kind of, aligned with that like Web 2 user experience or what you would find in like the Google Play or Apple App Store.